Okay, welcome to tonight's live stream, everybody. My name is Ian Shepard, and I'm the owner of Right Start Newcomer Services. So welcome, everybody, to tonight's show. We have a really great show. We have a great guest. My guest tonight will be Wisdom, and I'll introduce him in a few minutes. But first, I want to say our land acknowledgement. So before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Right Start Newcomer Services conducts business in Chibuktuk, which is how you say Halifax in the Mi'kmaq language. This city is part of the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This means that when settlers came, the indigenous people did not surrender their territory and instead signed treaties with Europeans. As a business, we're committed to upholding these treaties as we continue to build relationships between settlers, newcomers, and Mi'kmaq people. Okay, great. So if you're watching the recording, thank you very much for watching as well. And if you're tuning in live, please comment, ask questions throughout tonight's show, because Wisdom, we like to put him on the spot, and I'm sure he'll be able to answer all of your questions. I will say that he won't be able to answer any personal questions about your particular immigration needs, so he will be able to answer general questions very well. So let's bring Wisdom on, and I'm going to introduce him. So Wisdom, I'm just going to give your little introduction spiel. So Wisdom is the principal consultant at Dow Immigration Consulting Services Limited, a Halifax-based establishment that provides professional immigration services to foreign nationals interested in immigrating to Canada or remaining in Canada. Wisdom is a knowledgeable and experienced immigration consultant who has helped many people from different parts of the world achieve their dream of visiting, studying, working, or immigrating to Canada. He is duly registered with the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council, a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Immigration Consultants, and also a member of the Immigration Education Alliance. He's licensed to practice in the province of Saskatchewan under the Foreign Worker and Immigration Services Act. Okay, so let me try and pronounce your last name. So it's Wisdom Akpokige. Is that correct, sir?
That is very correct. Thank you very much, Ian. And I'm honored to be here this evening.
Yeah, well, we're really happy to have you. So I have known Wisdom for, how long has it been? 4 years or so?
Yes, 4 years, yes.
Yeah, great. So you are yourself an immigrant, so maybe you can share with us a little bit about your story first, Wisdom.
Okay, my name is Wisdom, as Ian rightly mentioned. I immigrated to Canada in 2017, and fortunately for me, one of the persons I met first was Ian, because I went to Iceland, and he was one of the first persons I met there. And I have been in Canada in the last 4 years, and I would say I've settled in here in Halifax in Canada.
Great. And maybe tell us a little bit about the process of, you probably did your own immigration papers and stuff like that. So how was the process of actually applying for getting your permanent residency and then moving to Canada?
Okay, so back, I am originally from Nigeria, so I was working at the time in Nigeria when I thought to myself that maybe it'd be good to consider immigrating and living home in Nigeria. We had several countries that came to mind at the time. We started narrowing down a list, and we eventually got to Canada and Australia. And we eventually made the decision to consider Canada. And at the time, the government of Canada had just launched the express entry, because prior to that time, the process was a little bit longer and wasn't that clear to people, especially from the part of the world that I came from. So we were very happy that the government of Canada had introduced the express entry system, and I checked the eligibility requirement. It was good, I was eligible, and then I created an express entry profile online, which I believe many people would be familiar with. And eventually I got a provincial nomination. And guess what province nominated me? Your guess is right. It was Nova Scotia. And I completed all of the paperwork, and it took me about a year, and our permanent residency visa were approved. And that was it. We got on the plane and landed here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Great. And you said you're pretty much settled now, but how were the first, few months or year after your arrival for you guys?
Oh yeah, and I know that Ian, you are part of the story, so you pretty much saw us through those initial bit where you're in a totally new environment with a different culture. Well, how did I forget the weather? With totally different weather. I remember when we landed in June, and I thought that was like the best time to land because I thought it would be warm. And then we landed here at about 2 a.m. And as soon as I got out of the terminal building, I'm like, this is June. This is not December, because it was really cold. And,
Yeah.
my family members, they all remained inside the building, and I had to come out to get like a taxi to take us to our apartment. But I think some of the persons that we met were really, really helpful, and they helped us to settle into our new society. People like Ian, I remember taking several of your courses then, and I would be the one to bug you with all the questions, tell you that, oh, when I was walking, I saw this on the street. What does this mean?
Yeah.
And
I love
we
those
really had
questions.
people.
Yeah.
We really had people around that helped us. I mean, there was a bit of cultural shock how I was coming from a more direct society, and we got into Canada where the society is a little more indirect. I mean, the first thing we noticed was everybody was wondering, I'm wondering if you want to do that. I'm wondering. I'm like, don't these people just do things? They wonder. Yeah.
Nice.
But I think eventually we got used to the new society, and we sort of settled in.
Great. Yeah. We do have a comment here. Do you know Mayan? Because he's also an engineer and he's been at ISANS for a while. You guys he maybe arrived a little bit later than you, but he says probably long. I'm not sure what that's referring to, Mayan. Maybe it's something we said a few minutes ago, because I noticed the comment was from before, but it was probably funny. I just didn't get the reference there, Mayan. But thanks for watching, Mayan. Yeah, anybody else? So bring up your questions. We will answer your questions throughout tonight's show. So we're probably not going to wait till the end to answer questions. So we can just, tonight's going to be pretty conversational. I'll ask questions, viewers can ask questions, and that's probably the best way to get this information. Don't you think, Wisdom?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's talk about your current role as the principal immigration consultant with Dow Immigration. So first, maybe tell us, what is an immigration consultant?
Well, generally speaking, an immigration consultant is someone you go to if you want to immigrate. But in Canada, particularly, the regulation states that an immigration consultant has to be an authorized representative. And what this means is that person has to be an individual who can offer immigration or citizenships advice and or services for a fee or other consideration. So you have to be registered with one of the regulatory bodies. So you can either be registered with ICCRC, as Ian mentioned earlier, or you could be a member in good standing with a Canadian provincial or territorial law society here in Canada, which also includes Quebec.
Okay, great. So are you licensed to provide services in all provinces and territories in Canada, or certain ones?
So I'm licensed to provide immigration and citizenship services to foreign nationals across Canada, but outside Quebec.
Okay, yeah. Quebec always is different, right? They always have to be different with every single thing. So why would immigration be any different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's talk about your company, Dow Immigration Consulting Services Limited. So what are the types of services that you can offer and help people with?
Okay, so Dow Immigration provides professional immigration services to foreign nationals interested in immigrating to Canada or remaining in Canada if they are already here. We provide advice and representation for individuals and family seeking temporary or permanent entry visas to Canada. We work with international students and graduates who are looking to secure either a postgraduate work permit or take advantage of any of the permanent residence routes at the federal or provincial level. We also provide immigration service for local businesses within Canada that recruit foreign workers, ensuring that their foreign hires receive required permits to work legally in Canada. So some of our services would be immigrant visas. We help foreign nationals get immigrant visas, work permits, study permits, business visas for those people that want to come to Canada to do business, family sponsorship for those already in Canada and want to sponsor eligible family members, visitor visas. So if you want to visit Canada, we can also help in processing your visitor visa, citizenship application, inadmissibility hearing. So that's an area that we might not be able to go into. We might not be able to go too deeply into that area, but certain things can make you inadmissible to Canada. And what that means is you will not be able to enter into Canada. And there are ways to overcome some inadmissibilities, and we can guide people to achieve that. We also help to handle refugee cases. So if you think you qualify as a refugee and you want to put in an application, we are here to help you. I don't know, Ian, if you wanted me to be more specific, but generally, these are sort of the services that we offer at Dow Immigration Consulting Services Limited.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So I think you covered everything that you do. So basically anything related to immigrating to Canada, coming here as a student, even a visitor, getting your citizenship, all those things, you can contact Wisdom at Dow Immigration Consulting. And I'll put up their website now, and I'll put it up again at the end of the live stream. So you can go to their website. There's more information about all of their programs and services. And then here's his telephone number, so you can call them, and you can send them an email as well. So don't worry if you missed it this time. I will put it up later in the live stream as well. Okay, great. So maybe this is sort of a general question, Wisdom. So maybe pretend I don't know anything about immigration to Canada. What's sort of an overview of some of the programs that people can use to come to Canada as an immigrant?
So the government of Canada has put many programs or pathways, if you want to call it that way, for foreign nationals to immigrate to Canada. The one that almost everybody knows here is express entry. So express entry is a system that the government has put in place to manage 3 of the federal economic programs here in Canada. And those 3 programs should be the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Canadian Experience Class, and the Federal Skilled Trade Program. Now, these 3 programs are managed under the express entry. So they all have eligibility requirements, which we may not be able, for time's sake, we may not be able to fully go into, but I can just quickly touch on some very key eligibility factors, just for you to have an idea who these programs are tailored to or for. So the Federal Skilled Worker Program would be for foreign nationals that are mainly working class and would have had at least 1 year in a paid employment, whether within Canada or outside Canada. And you would have had at least a secondary school education. Again, there are like 6 factors that contributes towards your final score in a point-based system. These programs are all point-based system, and there are 6 factors: your age, your education, your level of education, if you have an employment offer here, the amount that you have available to come with you to Canada, your language proficiency. Yes, Ian helped us here quite a bit. Your language proficiency. I mean, all of this comes into the mix to determine your score. And bi-weekly, the government of Canada would usually hold draws, and then they select a figure, a cutoff mark, and anyone that has at least that mark or above will be invited to put in an application for permanent residence, and that's usually called an invitation to apply. So that is for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. The Canadian Experience class, you have to have worked in Canada for at least 1 year. So that's why it's called the Canadian Experience class. And it also has a lot of factors that would contribute into the same point base that we talked about. The last but not the least under the Express Entry would be the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So for certain trades, the government of Canada has created this pathway for people that have a certification in any of these trades for you to come to Canada to practice. So either you're an electrician or you're into carpentry, all those trades you can use this program. Beyond the Express Entry, we have the provincial nominee program. So Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. So each of these provinces and territories, they've got nominee programs that they put in place to sort of encourage people to come to their province, to sort of give some incentives for people to want to decide to be in these provinces. Now, if you go to the different provincial website, you might be able to get a bit more information into some criteria that these provinces might be or might require. Now, a lot of these provinces have also keyed into the Express Entry system because the system is really, really effective and shortens things. It's like an automated system, but a few provinces still operate outside the Express Entry. So provinces like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Newfoundland, they have their own provincial nominee program. I believe Nova Scotia has latched fully onto the Express Entry, except for like entrepreneur stream. Beyond that, I'll just touch on a few other routes that you can immigrate to Canada through. We have the entrepreneur and self-employed persons. We have the investors program. We have the startup business class. Very importantly, we have the home childcare pilot, home childcare provider pilot, and the home support worker pilot. I'm going to spend a few seconds to explain this because I know that a lot of persons are interested in this. And there's so when you're seeking employment here in Canada, there's something called LMI, which is Labor Market Impact Assessment. So so that I don't bore you with all the grammar and all the whatnot that we have there. It simply means for an employer in Canada to employ a foreign national outside Canada, they have to demonstrate that no Canadian or permanent resident of Canada has the required skills or training or education to perform that role. So you'll agree with me that that is a tough requirement to meet. But for this particular program, the government magnanimously made this program LMI exempt, which means the client does not necessarily have to show a positive LMI for them to employ you. And it could be either a family member, a friend, or anybody that have either children or an adult that is not able to take care of themselves. They can give you an employment to come into Canada to take care of either their children or any adults in their homes that they would want you to take care of. And that would create a pathway to become a permanent resident here in Canada. We have immigrant investor venture capital class. And another one I'd like to spend a few seconds, bear with me, Ian, would be the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, because I am in Atlantic Canada, and I also think this is a wonderful program that has been put in place by the government of Canada to sort of create some incentives so people to immigrate to, not just immigrate to Canada, but also to come to the Atlantic region, which would be the four provinces, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland. This program, we have three sub-programs under these, which would be the Atlantic Immigration Graduate Program. So if you have studied in Atlantic Canada, this is a very, very easy pathway for you to remain in Canada as a permanent resident. I may not be able to go into further details, but if any other person asks, if anyone has a question, I'm very happy to go into much more details. We have the Atlantic High Skilled Program and the Atlantic Intermediate Skill Program, and all of these will be programs for you to immigrate to Atlantic Canada. We do have the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program as well. Again, I forgot to say that the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, that is also LMI exempt. And like I explained earlier, that is a huge deal if you're coming from outside Canada to pick up a role. So basically, all you need, if you're not a graduate or if you did not graduate from a school within Atlantic Canada, you need a designated employer to offer you an employment. Again, remember, it is LMI exempt. Okay, so I was talking about the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program. That's also another good one, but this is driven by communities instead of provinces. So just exactly the same way some provinces would want to create some incentives for you to immigrate and reside in those provinces, these communities have also put up some incentives to attract some foreign nationals to want to reside in these communities. So if you're interested in those programs, you can Google Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program. I'm sure you'll get more than enough information on site online. The last item I have here will be Agri-Food Immigration Pilot Program.
Great. So it's a lot of programs and it's a little confusing. So I can see why someone would want to go to somebody like you, Wisdom, and get some guidance and help them, because, you know, I've been working in the settlement field for 10, 11, 12 years and it's still confusing to me. So I think, yeah, you know, people need, at least some people need some help with this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you explained everything really well, Wisdom. As you were talking, I just have a couple of questions. So these are questions that come to me quite often. So one is, my first question would be, if somebody comes in the provincial nominee program, say for Nova Scotia, are they obligated to stay in Nova Scotia? Or could they land and then leave and go to Ontario or some other province?
That's a very good question, Ian, because as soon as people land, many people would want to maybe move from the province that nominated them or to maybe somewhere else. As far as the law is concerned here in Canada, there is freedom of movement for Canadian citizens and Canadian permanent residents. However, most provinces would have you commit or to show intent to want to reside in those provinces. So I know it's not really a very clear line there, right? Because once you become a permanent resident, the law says you can move anywhere in Canada and no province would actually restrict you from moving within Canada as a permanent resident. But however, I think it's a moral thing. You committed to this province to say you would like to reside in the province. So even if it is not legally required that you remain in the province, I think morally it will be good for you to remain in those provinces that that nominated you, because the whole essence of provincial nomination is to get people to remain in those provinces.
Okay, great answer. My next one was about the AIP program, because you said it's very popular. So let's say somebody is living overseas and they hear about the AIP or AIPP program. How can they go about finding an employer that would, you know, offer them a job? Because you said that was a requirement before they can actually come to Canada.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Ian. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have three programs under the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Scheme. We do have the Atlantic Immigration Graduate Program. So for that, you do not really require an employment. All you need is to have graduated from a school here in Atlantic Canada. So I think that is outside your question. Now, for the other two, which would be the Atlantic High Skilled Program and Atlantic Intermediate Skilled Program. So each province would have what we call a list of designated employers. So it's not everybody in Nova Scotia, it's not every employer in Nova Scotia that if they give you a valid job offer would qualify for you to come under this stream. And each province has a list of all the designated employers. So if you go online, this is everywhere online. If you go to the Nova Scotia website, you would see the list. The Office of Immigration here in Nova Scotia. If you go to their website, you see the list of the designated employers, and the same thing for the other three provinces. So if you want to come to Canada under this stream, my best advice for you would be go to the provincial website, download the list of the designated employers, go to their website, see what roles they're recruiting for, try to make contact with them and apply for roles and try to secure an employment, and then they'll take things from there.
Mm-hmm. And just because they're on the designated employer list doesn't mean that they have job opportunities available right now, does it?
Absolutely. So they are into business. So business will have different needs at different times. So if, according to their business need, they require, for example, the services of an accountant, they would publicize that on their website, and then you can apply, and they can give you a job offer. So like you rightly said, it doesn't mean just because someone is on that list, everybody can jump at them to give them like a job offer.
Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm looking at it from the other side now. What if there's an employer who wants to become part of the AIP program? How difficult is it or expensive is it to get placed on that list and be able to bring people in?
Oh, it is very, very easy and very straightforward. So I have helped some businesses here to become designated. So I understand how the whole process works. You basically need to fill an application form. They would want you to have been in business for at least 2 years within Atlantic Canada, which I think it's not a serious requirement. And they would also want you to commit to assisting your foreign hires to settle in. So they would want you to maybe talk with settlement groups like ISANS, there are many other settlement groups here in Nova Scotia, and see what requirements a foreign hire might require to settle in with their families. And once they give you that sort of list, you would agree to help the foreigner hire, which is really to the benefit of the foreigner hire here, because they're making sure that the employer is committing to having their foreign hire settle into the province. So I think it's a very good thing. And to answer your question, it is not difficult at all. It is very easy. It doesn't take, I think we put in application under 1 day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, we just have another comment here, so it's more of a wave. So Mohammed is waving. Hi, Mohammed. Thank you for watching and joining us today.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned before, any questions you have related to immigration, the different streams or programs, Wisdom is your man to answer those questions. But I have some other questions. We have about 15 minutes left or so. So
yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk a little bit more about family sponsorship. So say a family wants to bring parents. Is it possible to bring, elderly parents or children or brothers, sisters, cousins, things like that to Canada?
So absolutely. the government of Canada has made provision for um, Canadian citizens or persons registered in Canada as an Indian under the Canadian Indian Act or permanent residents of Canada to bring in eligible family members. So I guess the biggest thing here is eligible family members. So you're able to sponsor your spouse, your dependent children. And I think recently the government of Canada has sort of uh, rearranged or reorganized the process for sponsoring parents and grandparents. So I think at certain times of the year, they require citizens and permanent residents to show interest if they would like to sponsor their parents and their grandparents. And I believe they do something like a ballot a box or a ballot picking, and they select some people. Not everybody that indicates interest gets it, but some people gets the opportunity to put in application for their parents and their grandparents. But beyond that, the government has also put in another. This is not a permanent resident visa. It is a temporary one, but it's called the super visa. A lot of persons here would have heard about the super visa, and that is also available for you to sponsor your parents or your grandparents, and that gives them more time to remain in Canada, because the government of Canada obviously knows that people would want to spend more time with their family, their parents and their grandparents. So instead of giving them the normal visa, which would be between 2 years or 2 years or more, and then they're only eligible to remain in Canada for 6 months, the government of Canada came up with a super visa, which is valid for 10 years. And then the parent can live in Canada for up to 2 years,
Okay.
which I think is great.
Yeah, great. Okay, I do see another question here. So this is from Lena. So Lena says, hi, thank you for the information. My question is if it's possible to apply for a PR for 2 different programs at the same time, PNP and EE, for example. So that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So at this point, I would like to clearly explain what we mean by application so that we are all on the same page. Now, creating an express entry profile is not an application. It's just an expression of interest. So if you have a valid express entry profile, it doesn't stop you from applying for any other program. Again, when you apply for provincial nomination, people have asked if it is possible to apply for more than one. And I said, nothing actually stops you from applying to more than one province. But to indicate interest. But when you have applied, you're committing to the province that you have intent to reside in that province. So I guess the question is now, can you apply for 2 provinces and then demonstrate intent to live in the 2 provinces at the same time? So I guess the answer is pretty straightforward on that. But if you have an active express entry profile, nothing stops you from applying for provincial nomination.
Yeah. Okay.
As a matter of fact, sorry, let me just add this. As a matter of fact, when you're creating your express entry profile, there is a portion that asks you if you want the system to automatically show your profile to different provinces that might be interested in you. So if you tick that, with your profile, the provinces can see you and they can issue you what we call a notification of interest, which basically means the province is interested in you and they want you to apply for provincial nomination from that province.
Okay, great answer. Great question, Lena. And she says, thank you. So I guess she's satisfied with your response, Wisdom.
You're welcome, Lena.
Okay, great. We have about 10 minutes left. I have a few more questions for you, Wisdom, but we still have time for more questions from our viewers as well. So here's sort of a general question. Why is it important to work with a licensed immigration consultant such as yourself?
Perfect. I think I would say this is like the best question here today, because a lot of persons miss this, and we've heard so many stories of how people fall into wrong hands, and at the end of the day, they're not able to achieve their immigration dream. Now, the first and the most important reason why why you need to work with a licensed immigration consultant is it is legal. It is illegal for someone that is not a licensed immigration consultant or a lawyer in any of the provinces to represent you and collect a fee for any immigration service that they offer to you here in Canada. So I believe everyone wants to work on the right side of the law, right? So that for me, it's like the main reason why you want to choose a licensed immigration consultant. Another reason why you want to choose a licensed immigration consultant is these persons have been trained to do the job, so they know what they are doing. They have been trained on the Canadian immigration laws. So the minimum it would take for you to become a licensed immigration consultant would be to have a diploma in Canadian immigration law, which means you would understand all of the programs that the government of Canada is putting in place for foreign nationals to come here. Now, these people are also regulated, which means if you are doing business with a licensed immigration consultant and for any reason you are not happy, there's a regulatory body that you can always complain to, and that is why it is required that immigration consultants sign what we call a retainer agreement with any client before they start offering any service. And one compulsory element of the retainer agreement is the clause that tells the client who to call, where to go to in the event that things don't go right. So that's like a consumer protection, right? So you don't want to go where you're not protected as a client. So working with an immigration consultant, you're protected, and these people are immigration consultants are also insured against any error. So if anything comes up, they are insured to handle whatever claims clients may have. You will not be able to get that outside licensed immigration consultant or lawyers here in Canada. So I believe these are very, very convincing reasons why you would want to work with a licensed immigration consultant.
Okay, great answer. So just two more questions for you from me. And if anybody else has a question, you still have 5 minutes or so to ask. So this is related to sort of the last question. So how can someone check to see that you are reputable or another immigration consultant is reputable?
Oh, okay. So like I said, we have immigration consultants and then we have lawyers, and either can handle your immigration case for you if you are interested in working with them. So I'm going to speak for immigration consultants. So we have the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council, and they do have a website. And on that website, they have a register of all registered immigration consultants. And so most immigration consultants that are registered would easily tell you their registration numbers. So you can use a registration number to check for them. But I believe ICCRC also put in place many other measures. So even if you don't have their registration numbers, if you know their name, their businesses, what city they run their business, if you have any information about the person, you can go, you can look up the online register, and you'll be able to pull up information about that immigration consultant if they are reputable or not.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, one last question from me, Wisdom. So why did you decide to become an immigration consultant, and maybe what do you like about the job?
Okay, I was hoping you were not going to ask me this question.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. So I didn't start out as an immigration consultant, as you very well know, Ian. I believe the first time you met me, you didn't meet me as an immigration consultant. So I am a structural engineer by training. I did my first degree in structural engineering from the University of Benin back home in Nigeria. And then I went to England to do a master's degree also in civil structural engineering from the University College London. And I worked a bit as a structural engineer back home. And when I started climbing the corporate ladder and assuming some managerial roles, I decided to also do an MBA from the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. And eventually I made up my mind I was going to immigrate. I followed the immigration process myself. I did everything and I understood how the whole thing worked then. And after I immigrated, I have helped many, many families. I don't even remember them. Hundreds of people immigrate to Canada and achieve the Canadian dream. And I was doing this without a fee, of course, because the law does not allow me to collect a fee. And I usually, have this sense of fulfillment when people come back and say, "Thank you very much. You made me, you helped me to achieve the Canadian dream and all of that." And I wanted to take it a step further. And I said, since I have the knowledge, why don't I just go and get the license and then start up a business, and I would be legally allowed to accept a fee for my services. And that's how I started Dow Immigration Consulting Services. And it's been really, really awesome because uh, again, the fulfillment is always there when you see clients come to you and tell you their problems. They are so worried, and then you're able to provide solutions to them, and you see the smile in their face, and they tell you, "Thank you, you really helped me," and all of that. So those were sort of the things that really were sort of the drive that pushed me into going into this as a business.
Okay, great. Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
That's okay.
Ask you a bad question. So I know time's almost up, but I want to answer this question from Keelan because Keelan's great. She's been on our live stream before talking about buying a home in Canada. So Keelan says, "Sorry I got here late, but I'm interested in learning how to bring my family from Cuba. What is the best way to apply?"
Okay. Thank you very much, Keelan, for the question. So I'm not going to assume you are, I'm just going to say you are either a Canadian citizen or permanent. You would need to be either a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or someone registered under the Indian Act for you to bring your family member here in Canada. Now, the next question would be, which of the family members? If it's a spouse, it's pretty straightforward. You just put in a sponsorship application and bring in the spouse. If it is for dependent children, which would be children under the age of 22, except they are financially dependent, or they have some challenges when they are above 22 years. You might be able to sponsor them if they're above 22 years and they're still hugely financially dependent on you, or they have other challenges. Now, if it is for your parents or your grandparents, we did talk about that shortly. I'm not sure when you joined the program, but we said the government of Canada has sort of reorganized that program. So certain times within the year, they allow citizens and permanent residents to indicate interest if they would like to sponsor their parents or their grandparents. Then out of all the people that indicate interest, the government of Canada selects a few of them and gives them the opportunity to apply. I also did mention here, Ian, that we have the Super Visa, which is another good program that you can use to sponsor your parents or your grandparents, and it will be valid for 10 years, and they can live with you here in Canada for up to 2 years, which is way better than the normal visitors visa that they're only allowed to remain in Canada for 6 months.
Yeah, great. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Keelan. Maybe you can watch the replay after where Wisdom talked about all the different programs, and you can also reach out to Wisdom after the show. Great. So Keelan says, "I admire your work."
Thank you very much, Keelan.
I thought that was for me. Are you going to take that compliment, or is that for me? I think probably you this time, Wisdom. You
Well,
can
I
have.
guess we both can take that.
Okay, great. And one more question before I let you go tonight, Wisdom. So it's Lena again. So if someone gets a PR in PNP program, is it necessary to live at this province for some time, or he can move to another province immediately? So I think we did talk about that a little bit, but very quickly, can you answer that one, Wisdom?
Okay, so I spoke about this before now, and I told you that there are legal requirements and there are moral requirements. So in Canada, as a permanent resident, there is no restriction as to where you can live within Canada. However, usually when you are applying for these provincial nominee programs, you would have committed to the province that you had the intent to live in that province. So I think it becomes a moral issue, not really a legal issue. And I've seen many people leave provinces that nominated them, and I know a few that did not run into any trouble. Am I saying you should do that? No, because I think there is the moral aspect of things. I was nominated by the province of Nova Scotia, and I've been living here for 4 years, and I don't have any intention to leave Nova Scotia any soon. So, I mean, the thing really, again, Ian, if you give me a few seconds, the thing really is everywhere in Canada, and this is what I tell all of my clients, everywhere in Canada is viable. You just need to sit down and see what works where. So we have the bigger cities. They also have their challenges there. We have the smaller cities that have their challenges. So if you sit down, you would be able to discover what works wherever you are. And you may not need to leave wherever you are. But if you absolutely need to leave, then legally you're not required to remain there.
Okay, great. Thank you for your question, and thank you for your response, Wisdom. Keelan says thank you. You answered her question. And she says both of us are doing a great job. So that's nice to hear, Keelan. I know you're doing a great job with what you do too, but thank you very much for saying that. Okay, Lena says thank you very much. Nova Scotia is the best.
Yeah, Nova Scotia is best.
I agree. I'm from here, but Wisdom, has moved here from across the world, and he agrees too. So yeah. I think we're doing all right here.
Yeah,
it's the hot spot nowadays. It's the place to be, apparently. So everybody's moving from overseas, from other parts of Canada. I think everybody wants to be here now. Yeah. Great. So I'm gonna put your information up again. So if anybody wants to contact Wisdom, here is his website. So all of his services are there, his contact info, everything else. So it's just www.dowimmigration.com. And here's his telephone number. So 1-902-802-0512. Or you can send him an email, info@dowimmigration.com. Oh, that's correct, Wisdom?
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for watching. I think it was a really great show. Wisdom did a great job of explaining immigration to Canada. And of course, thank you, Wisdom. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your clear explanations. And it is always good to see you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Ian. I'm truly honored to be a part of your program today. And I also want to thank everyone that followed this program. I appreciate you spending time with us this evening.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks again, and have a great night, everybody.
Have a good evening.